Somebody's got another device playing there. Happens.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Esoteric Egypt, the Voice of Egypt with Khadija Hammond and her guest, Dr. Edward Close, or Edmund. Can't remember if it's Edmund or Edward. Glad to have you here, sir. Thank you for coming. We have a special here tonight because Khadija was in the Great Pyramid a couple weeks ago now, I think. And she wanted to take us through the Great Pyramid to show us the sound resonance chamber in the King's Chamber, they call it, and wanted us to experience some of the spiritual activity, how they would have done it when the pharaohs were alive. And something happened along the way. In fact, something was interfering with Khadija's trip through the pyramid the entire time. So this ended up being a lot of paranormal spiritual activity that we just simply can't explain. And Lori and I spent a great deal of time working with the video, trying to find reasons for what was going on, and we're stumped. So it should be quite exciting. And for those folks who are not in the chat room and listening in, hopefully you'll have videos so that you can see what's going on, because it's quite fascinating. And then for those in the chat room, hello, Kelly Elderberry, good to see you. William, good to see you here.
Mandy Moo.
And Mandy Moo. Hi, Sister Mandy. I think Trina might try to jump in later if she can get her stuff together. She's on her way home. But in any case, Dr. Close is a theoretical physicist. Is that right? Theoretical physicist? And you actually reside here in the United States, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You've known Khadija for a lifetime.
Yeah, so I'm in the state of Missouri, central U.S.
Okay. And what's your area of expertise, Dr. Close?
Well, my academic background started in mathematics and physics, but I've spent most of my career as an environmental engineer. Of course, engineering is just applied physics. So, and mathematics is the base language of all science. So I spent 12 years as a systems analyst and mathematical modeler of environmental systems for the Department of Interior, U.S. Geological Survey. But I'm right now associated with 3 different research groups doing consciousness research and interaction between mind and matter, you would say, quantum physics and consciousness, and one with Dr. Gary Schwartz at the University of Arizona in Tucson. And my research partner for about 13 years is Dr. Vernon Neppy, who's the director of the Pacific Psychoneuroactive Institution. Mm-hmm. So I'm consultant to that and a couple of others. So I keep pretty busy. I have, I think, 10 published books and 2 books in the mill right now, one with a publisher and one being peer reviewed, and several hundred technical papers published over, the last 50 years.
That's quite a bit.
So that's kind of
yeah. And Khadija, how did you meet Dr. Close?
Well, my mic is. Can you hear me?
Yes,
we can hear you.
Yeah.
I'm not hearing myself come back with my mic, but that's okay. I met Dr. Close as a result of our both knowing and being very close to Dr. Gary Young, who was the founder of Young Living Essential Oils. And we both believe in the power of the natural essential oils in healing. And we knew we had been all over the world together. We went to our last trip together was in Petra, the frankincense trail, where we followed the Egypt and also the Petra to show that the ancient people of Nabatea was a big healing center. And it's very interesting because something I found out after they all left, and I stayed there for another 2 weeks simply because I couldn't leave. I'm very, very attached to this area, was that in fact it was a healing area. And on the hillside, Aaron is buried up there. Moses passed through there. This is a place that's unbelievable. On the top of the hill is an egg with a snake wrapped around it. And they took me to see it. They call it the Snake Monument. And I told Gary, and he couldn't believe it. So Dr. Close and I have been close friends for a long time. He and his beautiful late wife, very fond of. And she passed away. When was it, Ed? It's only been about a couple of years now since Jackie passed away.
Yeah, December 15th, 2018.
Oh, all the time it's been flying. Mm-hmm. But anyway, a really wonderful experts in the oils. And they did a lot of work with killing black mold with essential oils and so forth. But I'm not going to get into that because we're not here to discuss oils. We're here to discuss consciousness. And so I'm so excited that Dr. Close joined us.
Us too.
Because he's going to give the bang to what we're talking about.
Okay, great. By the way, we have a member, Mary Wynn, might want to talk to you about killing black mold with essential oils. I'll make a note of that. Okay. All right. Well, Let me just say real quick hello to Julianne. Margaret, welcome to the chat. Gaz's Backyard is here. Gary. And we have, who else came in? Suzanne.
Loretta Enigma.
Yeah, and Truth Seeker came in. And Loretta and Susan. Just a bunch of people came filtering in. So, all right. Well, let's start out by just starting off with Khadija's video series, her sequences, and then we'll pause periodically to come up for air in between. And then we'll have a discussion after it's all over, said and done with. But they're wonderful videos. It's just freaky. So some of you are probably going to be like, what is this? And I'm just know that she was trying to take the inside of the Grand Gallery as she was going through it and was interfered with. Something. We're not sure what it was. But look for orb activity. Look for movement. Spirit movement. You'll see that too. There'll be some freeze frames where we've taken snapshots to blow it up for you. And hi, Doug. Welcome. And so you'll see for yourself and you'll judge for yourself what's going on here. So, Khadija, do you want to say anything else to kick it off with?
I just want to tell all of you that I am so grateful to be here in Egypt. I'm continuing my research, which has always been metaphysics and the more spiritual side of life. And Egypt is my biggest teacher. And I want to invite all of you to come here. And I want to tell you something. Don't listen to what other people say about Egypt. I'm fed up with these people saying, oh, it's a red zone now and all this crap. We don't have any worse problem here than you do there. So COVID is everywhere. And if you're going to be afraid of it, you might as well go ahead and roll up yourself and die, because it is no big deal. I had it and I kicked it in 5 days. Keep your body healthy. Keep your body strong. Dr. Close, right?
Yes.
Take your vitamins and you'll be fine.
Immune system is the key. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I was on the last flight out of Eastern Europe, out of Istanbul, Turkey. The last flight before the flights were banned, March 13th, 2020. It was an absolute packed plane, no masks or anything, people coughing and everything. So I was exposed big time and never have had any symptoms whatsoever. I was self-quarantined for a couple of weeks. And where I am here, most people think it's a big scam, because
It is.
if we have one case,
Yeah.
if we have one case of COVID in the county, that's a big spike. It's reported as, oh, there's a spike in the so-called red states. Well, that's because we didn't have any. So we got 2 or 3, it's a spike. And some of them may be false positives anyway. So
Yeah.
it's real. People die from it, but so is the flu. You know,
Right.
the morbidity rate's no worse. And of course,
Flu
I'm
and
in
the-
a very so-called vulnerable zone because I'll be 85 my next birthday. So supposedly, but I don't have any kind of other morbidity problems. I don't have any
Right.
kind of disabilities or anything.
Well, that's
I have a
wonderful.
good, strong immune system. So,
Awesome.
yeah, it's yeah. So
Well,
that's,
Dr. Close,
Khadija and I agree. Yeah.
We're up there.
I'd like to yeah, well, I'm getting up there too. I'll be 61 in July.
We're all getting there.
Dr. Close, I'd like to introduce you to our sister Trina Phoenix. She just joined us. You can see her over there. She's the one I was
Sure.
telling you about
Hello.
before. Yeah, I think you'll find some of his
Nice to see you.
insight
You too.
fascinating. Yeah. It sounds an awful lot like some of the things you were talking to Wayne about day before yesterday. Yesterday. Well, I'm losing time again, aren't I?
Tuesday.
All right. Well, Trina, we were
I do
just
too.
about we were just about ready to start showing the video occurrences that happened. But first, Khadija has an opening message video, and then we go inside the pyramid. Okay? All right, let her roll, Lori.
There we go.
And hi, Michelle. Hi, Spirited Woman. Pay close attention, everyone, to the activity around the pyramids. The sky and the way the sun is glinting off of it. See if you can catch anything.
Especially the tips.
Mm-hmm. The thing is with video cameras, as I found out, I can't get most of the vivid colors or sun sparkling off my rocks and granites with a regular camera. Just doesn't pick it up. But you can see a little bit of glowing there.
The apex.
Mm-hmm.
Watch the apex, you'll see it.
Yeah, it oscillates. Mm-hmm.
Good morning. I'm hoping that you will see the energy coming off the top of the pyramid this morning. I filmed last night and I'm filming a short take this morning. So you can see, look at the tip of the Great Pyramid and continue to gaze at it very quietly. From here I can see the energy coming off and it is a very light purple color. Maybe it's because I have been trained in metaphysics, but it is very obvious to me that it is coming off. I want to tell you something. I'm reading a wonderful book written by Dr. Edward Close, who is a PhD theoretical physicist. Dr. Close had an experience in the Great Pyramid. He actually was hit by a light and went into a spinning sensation which caused him to collapse on the floor of the Queen's Chamber, and he was taken to the hotel, and he told a story of how he had out-of-body experiences, visions, and many other things which have taken him most of his life to understand. It is my belief that certain people are selected, by whom I don't know. I once had a vision in the pyramid in which I was rendered unconscious for a while, and I remember seeing 3 priests who came and asked me what I wanted. Now mind you, there were no lights on at the time, but I could see them glowing, and they asked me what did I want, what was I doing. I said, I want to be of service to humanity. I want to know the secrets of this great place. And they told me that I would have a very strange life and would spend a great deal of it alone. And their actual words were, those who come among us must walk alone. Go back to the follies of the earth if you are not strong enough. And I bowed to them and I said, I take this advice from you, and I will do whatever is necessary to do. Now, I'm 74 years old, and I'm sharing this story with you for a reason. As you observe this beautiful pyramid, look at the top, look at the tip, and get very quiet within yourself, and you will see this energy coming out. This is some sort of initiatory chamber. It's a sound chamber. I know because music has been a big part of my life, and at that point I was told that I had to eat a certain diet, that I had to walk a certain path in order to be able to deal with the energy in this great pyramid. Now Dr. Close very nearly left his body for good. He said that the energy was so strong, and it was only by the help of others around him that he was able to keep from going on out. And he describes in his fantastic book, which I will give you the title tomorrow when I am sitting here filming again as I'm speaking to you these stories. Now, Dr. Close is a theoretical physicist, and he has discovered a new energy which they call Gemo. It is actually another energy source. We were discussing the fact that electrons are the building blocks of the universe, but there is no such thing as matter per se. It is simply energy spinning at a certain rate, and according to the rate of which it spins is what manifests, and only manifestation because of resistance. And when we were discussing the pyramids, I have a feeling that they knew this. They understood there were energies that could transform, and the initiate was taken inside the pyramid, inside the chamber, and placed in this sarcophagus, so-called sarcophagus box, in which certain sounds were toned, and he had experiences so-called out of body, so that he knew what he was. And the only way you'll ever know this is when it happens to you. Now, we discussed many things, and one of the things I want to talk to you about is consciousness, and the fact that there is the ego you, which dies in every incarnation, and there is the unlimited you, which is connected to the all. And the idea is to get in touch with this so that you can become enlightened and a part of the great consciousness, because the experiment was to cause human beings to be connected and enlightened. And this takes many years of growth and many years of work on yourself to be able to be both courageous enough and strong enough to have this experience. Now, with him, it nearly killed him. With me, I think it's because I had followed the advice of the Master so many times and was able to deal with this energy. And I'm also because I'm a sound priestess and Sekhmet's priestess, and I'm interested in all of this, that I used to spend the night in the pyramid, and I have done so 4 times. There is in this great chamber the ability to go between levels of consciousness, also between the levels of reality. And to do that, you have to be able to leave your ego and leave your body behind and know that you are not that. There is a saying in Sanskrit, Om Tat Sat, thou art that. But people get confused with their ego. Now, who you are in this life is made up of a combination of your DNA from both of your parents, their experience is superimposed over the physical vehicle, and whatever experiences you experience in your life that builds your idea of who you are. But this is sort of like putting on a costume to act out in a play. That is not who you are. You are simply doing that for a short period of time. The real you is the observer, which lives forever. And the surprise when you die is that you don't. This observer simply looks at what has happened, and then you take on a new identity and come back and do your next incarnation, whatever that may be, and the next and the next and the next and the next, until you blend back in, if you choose, to the all, which is nothing but pure, unconditional, brilliant, soft and beautiful love. Love is truly the answer, but it is not the kind of love most people experience when they say they are attracted to another person, or they love chocolate, or they love this or that. No, this is an eternal, compassionate, non-judgmental, precious love. Now, listen to me very carefully. You will drop this ego when you die, like dropping clothes, and realize that you have never born, nor have you ever died. You are a part of the all-encompassing consciousness, which puts itself down into your body, sort of like electricity can light up 1,000 lamps. And after this incarnation, you will do another and another until you have learned what it is you have come to learn. For me, being back in Giza every year, to sit here and look at the Great Pyramid and watch the stream of energy coming out, and plan my day when I will go stay in the pyramid probably for a half a day or so, and I will take this with me, and you will be with me inside the King's Chamber, and hopefully I'll be able to do some chanting in there, and you will hear as I set off the sarcophagus. What we used to do is take initiates in, lay them in the sarcophagus, and then I would stand in a certain part of the pyramid, which I will not tell you, where the energy flows from up to down, and intone several different ancient Egyptian words and sounds and notes, which set off the great sarcophagus. And I will do this for you tomorrow. So go with me into the King's Chamber. No, I'm sorry. I will do this on Wednesday. Today is Monday. But I have to prepare myself for it. And then I will take you into the pyramid and bring you through an actual experience inside. So God bless all of you.
everybody. I am in the Giza area now, and I'm going to go into the Great Pyramid now.
All right, Lori, let's just pause it for a
Show you
second. Thank you. Would you take a look at that pyramid? Did you all see that pulsating there towards the end of her talk? I saw the purple skies, and I saw the very tip of it pulsating. It's very much active, my point of view. Let's pause here and just sort of recap a second here on the message that Khadija's giving here. I thought Trina would sync with a lot of what she was saying there about the conscious energy, and that the ego is what is in the way and goes away when we die, when we move on.
It's more like the body is in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing too, because they go into the sarcophagus and that's how they go in. Is it's basically saying that, the death is the door, and it is one of the doors of how we come to profound understanding, and the beautiful information about the toning and the sounding that resonates so much with me, because I have memories of that, and how the certain sounds would open up the stargates, and how it was an amazing practice to be a part of that priestess and priest ceremonies, because it literally would do amazing things that we can't even imagine. So yeah, it's very powerful, and I do definitely resonate with the fact that sound is one of the prime activating components for these massive stone structures, and they're actually built for sound.
Yeah, that's what she was.
It always amazes me too how much it resembles, like what we got from Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's so similar.
Yeah, that's stepped almost.
Yeah, and that's a copyrighted image from Manly P. Hall in his Sacred Book of Mystery Teachings of all ages. So yeah, it's amazing to me when I look at the correlations between Atlantis and Egypt, and then you look at these other pyramids all over the world, and I do believe that many of them had different functions, and it's amazing to get this inside tour into these massive ancient monuments and get to reconnect with these images and these energies, because I think a lot of us have spent some time there in the past.
Yeah. Dr. Close, you survived an incredible experience that she was telling us about. I'm glad you're still with us. And we have someone in the chat room who's a word alchemist, and she wanted to know what the word Gimel. It's Gimel. It's the Hebrew word. Third letter.
Yeah, it's the third letter of the Hebrew alphabet. And we discussed it a little bit before we started, but we chose that because we had to have, it's the old joke, we had to call it something, but all of the letters of the English alphabet and the Greek alphabet were already taken many times over in mathematics and, sorry.
Okay.
I've turned my phone off. So we chose that for a number of reasons. Dr. Neppy has my research partner for the past 13 years, has has written more about why we chose that in one of our papers. But let me say that I agree totally with the introduction that Khadija did there. I actually, besides, I gave my background in physics and mathematics and modeling and systems analysis, but I also was initiated into an ancient form of yoga called Kriya Yoga in 1960. And I've practiced it daily since since September 19th, 1960. So when I went into the pyramid, I was, very relaxed and interested. I've also been a spelunker. I've explored caves all over the world, so I'm not afraid of enclosed spaces. I've crawled through tunnels and I know how dark it is. Well, I don't know. You want me to tell my story now, or shall I wait until? I'm just commenting really now on Khadija's description of the fact that we are an ego which is only associated with this lifetime, but we are
Right.
everything's driven by spiritual evolution, and even the physical is driven by spiritual evolution. And as you
Right.
evolve, then you begin to remember past lives. You begin to have out of the body experiences and so forth. I had my first one when I was in the 6th or 7th grade, and 2 or 3 more. But anyway,
Yeah, we
the
can
whole
save your
idea
story.
is,
Yeah, great.
yeah, yeah. I'll
After we
tell the
get through
story
the
then. I just want to,
yeah, yep, you both have one, so
yeah,
that'd
I
be
just
perfect.
wanted to agree with Khadijah's description there of what we are. We're spiritual beings occupying a physical body from time to time. And I can talk all night about that. So I'll stop here. And then when we get to the point where you want me to tell you about the experience in the pyramid, I'll do that.
Oh, absolutely. All right, Khadija, did you want to add anything? Or Dalibor before we pick up?
No, not yet. No, I'm
Okay.
just like to point out that Gimel, being the third letter of the Hebrew alphabet, that would be the equivalent of like gamma. And but to somebody just looking at the letter, it's very similar to the Hebrew letter nun. It's just that it's got like a little tittle in it, So for
Yeah,
those of you who
Jules.
know Hebrew, it's very similar to nun.
Yeah, Jules is saying
Easily
gamma.
confused. Yeah.
Gamma. Yeah.
Hmm.
All right, Lori, let's roll with the.
And I'll be talking to you as I go up. It's pretty much easy to do now because they are nice enough to build a ramp over all these stones so that it isn't so bad to get up and down, especially for an old gal like me. Back in a moment. I just want you guys to see this. If you've got claustrophobia, you're in big trouble. This is how you go up. Okay, bend down. As though you're in prayer. And you go up very slowly. And I have to be careful because they told me I couldn't video in here. And of course I ignored it. Just like we do everything else. I had a lady tell me, she said, I have a problem. I said, what? She said, I'm claustrophobic. I said, oh, good, you can overcome that now. So you bend down, you're still in prayer, and you go one step at a time. Here you can see some of the original, how it was before they put
Look at the bottom of the screen, folks.
What are we looking at right here? Which section of the pyramid is this?
Khadija, can you hear us? What section of the pyramid is this? You don't have your mic on. Doesn't have her mic on. We'll tell you in a minute, Dalibor. Did you all notice?
That's the Grand Gallery. Yeah, I see the Grand Gallery. So she was looking down to the left in the Grand Gallery.
Yes. Now, do you see the spirit activity around there?
Yeah, it seems to be flickering.
Those are flickering lights on the left-hand side, but I'm talking about on the right-hand side of the screen, right in the center, and the far right corner, upper corner. You'll see spirit activity.
Yeah.
Now, this orb is going to come flying back down towards us in a minute.
Khadija, your mic is, you need to unmute. You're muted yourself, not me. I can't hear you.
Okay, here's the orb. It's coming towards the opening of a shaft off to the left of the Grand Gallery that she was trying to show us. Here it comes.
Yeah, it goes down then.
Now you see her camera's not really moving. She's more or less stationary.
Correct.
This thing is actually moving. See the aura around it?
There you go.
I took pictures of the movement on both sides.
And I think they actually may have rebuilt it.
Let's pause, Lori. Okay, now, Khadija, can you hear us? You have to
We can't hear her.
take yourself off mute.
She's not on mute.
Her sound is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that interesting? She couldn't tell us what was going on in the video because she was interfered with. And now she still can't tell us because now
She's got technical difficulties.
Uh-huh. All I can say, Khadija, is maybe go out and come back in, or take your microphone out and unplug it. Unplug your mic, your headset. There you go.
How's that?
Yeah,
Yep,
now we can hear you.
Fantastic.
There you go.
I don't hear myself coming back because I usually hear myself. Okay.
So what was that you were trying to show us?
I was trying to show you that on each side of the Grand Gallery, it is a straight line up. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And then there are two, you go up 3 or 4 stairs. You have to hang on. It's like a ladder. And then you go up and then it goes down. And so that whole area has been covered with wood to protect it. But what I was showing you was what it used to look like and the indentions, because I said something used to slide up and down. When I first saw it, I said, they didn't do that just to slide up the sarcophagus because you couldn't fit it through the door. The way they built the pyramid is too small. So I said, what is this for? They slid something up and down. There were grooves underneath on each side, like something moved up and down this sarcophagus.
Yeah,
Not sarcophagus, but
that's the impression I got, because if I'm not mistaken, you were like right when you exit the before you enter the Grand Gallery, you're in that small shaft, and you're looking forward into the Queen's Chamber, and the Grand Gallery is.
No. I was at the bottom of the Grand Gallery.
Yeah.
And when you climb up those steps, you have to hang on. There's 4 steps.
See,
I was right there looking down at the bottom of the Grand Gallery. That's why I shot upwards afterwards to show you what I was seeing. And
see, when I was in there, I didn't even know that there was like a ladder or steps or anything like that. I didn't notice that because
you don't remember that? Oh, that's hell getting up that thing. For me, it was.
I didn't see it.
My leg, but Yeah, it's there. When you first come in,
Yeah,
the Grand Gallery, you can look up and see it, but you have to climb up the steps on the side. Each side, there's 3 steps going up, and then 2 ramps that go straight up that are wood and have group. Yeah, okay. And I want to tell y'all that the sarcophagus, excuse me, the reason I said that I had to prepare myself was because at a young age, I used to have this being who was always constructing me. And I was told to become a complete strict vegetarian little by little before everybody knew anything about it. And I suffered horribly in my life from people saying, why don't you eat meat? You should eat. You know, and I went through hell until it got to be, they finally caught up with it like 20 years later. But it was to prepare me to be able to handle that energy, to be completely clear so that it could come down. Because anytime I do any chanting in there, I am soaking wet. You'll see I'm just like I've been in a sauna because of the energy coming down where I stand. And I think it would get you if you had never, because I've been in there and adjusted my body to it. But when you do the chanting, what happens, certain notes and certain words in ancient Egyptian set that sarcophagus off. It actually vibrates on different notes. And when someone's in it, your whole body picks up that energy. Pretty strong. It's amazing.
Wow. That is
I'm
amazing.
sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's go.
Yes.
Let's go. Next step. Thank you.
As I have told you, this is a sound chamber, and you could hear the overtones as I was intoning a certain word, Imhotep, in a certain tone, which I will not tell you. And that sets it off, and it is a great healing place. I feel so good in here, and I want to stay in here till they throw me out. But in no way, shape, or form was this any kind of tune. Now, I'm going to interview Dr. Close, and I hope he will come on, as I'm going to ask him to, for this specific and very wonderful presentation. It seems that I am wringing wet with sweat as usual. I don't know if it's from climbing up here or if it's just from the amazing exercise 101 that you get. They said, no videos. I said, okay. Of course, I'm videoing like crazy. I don't listen to anybody. Grandma knows best. Anyway, so you can see behind me now. It's really easy to see the inside of the chamber. You can see the walls, solid granite, shot through with pink quartz. Now, there's no reason for them to do this kind of stuff unless it was a sound chamber of some kind. That is my idea, and I'm staying with it. So, I don't know what they're doing. Haram. Mamnua. Magnua. You're not supposed to do anything like that in here. What? I've not got the video on. You're doing something illegal. Stop it.
There she comes again.
That's on your way back down. There's the second voice. Here we go.
The hell?
You didn't know about that, did you?
Yep.
Listen closely. There it comes. Over there in the center, you can see something. moving. Took a screen snap of that too. See that over there to your far left corner? Khadija, did you smell anything during this?
When you get to the Queen's Chamber.
Okay. You see that to the left? And then something floating in the middle of that yellow circle up top?
Ah.
And when we get out of here, I have a blow up for you to show you.
Mm-hmm.
It was really dark in there.
Yeah. Well, this should be the end of the video, right, Lori?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and let it play. All right.
That was interesting.
Hang on, we're going to show you something.
Yeah, where you see.
Now, something happened when we stopped the first time and started again. There was a part where they were lifting at the top open of the sarcophagus and showing you the inside of it, but we skipped over it just now by accident. But you also held the camera up and you spun around and you were showing the ceiling of the chamber and the blocks, but we couldn't see much because it was mostly your face. And when you moved the camera to the left or to the right, you could see the blocks, but we just skipped over it by accident just now when we paused and started the tape over. It doesn't matter. The point is that you were trying to do your meditation, and you said you meditated for over an hour with your chanting, but your video was interfered with, and it came out blank. Right?
They did not want it out.
Right.
They did not want it out.
Right.
This weirdest thing, because I'll tell you something. My phone, I put it down while it was recording. I was not messing with it. That's why I said all of that sound when it slowed down. Let me ask you something, Dr. Close. When this energy, this is what I was just thinking, this energy is on a very high level. Of course, any paranormal thing is vibrating faster than matter. So it has to slow down to manifest, doesn't it? It's got to slow down to show up on our level so we can see it. Maybe that's why it slows down the video. And my voice sounds strange because I said, that happens a lot. And I don't do it. I don't do nothing with it. It's nothing to do with it. And then I got to thinking it's slowing the video down in order to show itself. Is that possible?
I want to show you something, okay? Because I did look at this with Lori. We broke it down, and you have the same Apple iPhone that I have.
Okay.
The Apple iPhone has a video record button. So when I go to camera, and for those of you in chat, you know what I'm talking about, or those that are listening.
Yeah.
When I go to camera and I do my forward lens, okay, so I could see ahead of me. At the very bottom, there's options for taking a video. And one is slow-mo. If your slow-mo button is turned on, and I hit the red button to start recording my video, you'll get a video in slow motion. And when you do that, it sounds just like you had going, but you don't have a lot of other noises with it. That's number one. The other thing is you can't do it while you're in a regular video. So if you chose video, and that's what you started out with while you were talking to us, it wouldn't automatically just drop into slow motion. You have to
Okay,
stop
thanks.
it. You have to hit the stop button, and then you have to slide over to slow-mo.
I didn't even know that. And I never do slow-mo, by the way. And it hasn't been touched.
Right.
So it slowed down by itself. I didn't do it.
It did
That's
it
why
by
I asked
itself.
Dr. Close. I asked Dr. Close, could it be possible this energy is so vibrating at such a high rate, it will not manifest unless it slows itself down in order to reach resistance on our level and appear, as you might say.
The curious thing about all this, go ahead.
Has to do with two things. Frequencies, of course, but it has to do also with dimensionality. When your consciousness normally only operates through what I call 3S1T. That means 3 space dimensions and 1 time, actually just 1 quantum of time. If you see more than 1 quantum of time, you would be actually seeing the past and the future. That's a single timeline. One of the things that I do, and Dr. Nepi and I do for our research, is create a framework where we very carefully define things. Like people talk about other dimensions all the time. They really should be talking about other dimensional domains. You can't have a domain without 3 dimensions. And there are 3 dimensions of space, 3 dimensions of time, and 3 dimensions of consciousness. So when the vibration has to...
That's your 369.
Has to do...
369.
Yes. It's exactly right. Yes. And everything works on that in what we call TDVP, which is short for triadic dimensional vortical paradigm. Everything, we start out with a quantum equivalence unit. Everything then is measured in quantum equivalence units, which are both extent and content. So there's a whole lot of definition going on that I can't, I probably shouldn't spend too much time on. But the point
just
is
like we have
that
a quantum unit, as in like a Planck length being like the smallest possible unit of length. Is there like a Planck length of time or something?
Yes, but it's not the Planck. Planck units, the natural units, are different than what we do. Why? Mm-hmm. Because Planck saw that. He said, okay, we need a new mathematical basis. But he used the 4 then known constants: speed of light, the Coulomb, the electricity constant, the Boltzmann's constant, and so forth, and set them equal to 1. Now, most people don't realize this, but measurement is arbitrary. A foot in the English measurement was the length of some English king's foot, and an inch was the last digit, or last point of his thumb, the last part. So these are very arbitrary. What we've done is link it to the mass and the volume of the free electron. The electron is actually the smallest stable unit. All the other particle zoo is ephemeral. That is, it's nanoseconds or a few minutes at the most, and they decay. But the proton, the estimated half-life of it is longer than the age of the universe, the Big Bang universe of 13.8 billion years. So the proton is the most stable thing in the universe. Why? It's because of Gimmel, because of the quantum equivalence units of mass, energy, and Gimmel in every atom of every atomic element in the periodic table.
So you're talking
when
basically fermions, because
yeah,
the electron and the proton are both fermions. So would this also apply to like bosons,
yes,
boson type particles?
yeah, but those are all ephemeral. When you
Yeah.
want to describe reality as we experience it as conscious beings, all of the particles do is just, well, let me put it this way. Particle physicists are, I like this analogy. They have, if all you have is a hammer, then everything looks like a nail. So they think everything is particles. Turns out they're not, they're vortices. Turns out they are energy gamma vortices. And so, anyway, trying to explain why you would see and hear different things, there are two aspects to it: the slowing down of the time dimension, the timeline that your consciousness is creating, and the dimensional domain that you're aware of. Under conditions like this, and I'll go into it in a little more detail when I describe the experience in the pyramid, is one of consciousness expansion. And what happens when your consciousness expands is that you become aware of more dimensional domains than your physical senses are capable of seeing. So, for instance, when Khadija sees things from an expanded state of consciousness, there could be somebody standing right beside her that wouldn't see that at all because their consciousness had not expanded. What Dr. Neppy and I call this intervention, which really just is a combination of individual and dimensional domain. So every person creates their own dimensional domain. And as your consciousness expands, and this is a spiritual thing, then you see more of the 9-dimensional domains, the more of the three-dimensional domains superimposed as the 9-dimensional domain that is actually then embedded in an infinite field or an infinite expanse. And this gets into infinities and transfinite numbers and everything, but all of this is measurable. So this is
Does
new
does this
physics.
tie in with the theory of people like Dr. Nassim Haramein, who theorized that inside every Schwarzschild proton there's actually a black hole, and he mathematically proved this? Because black holes.
I'm aware of his ideas, and they coincide in many places, and they're different in some places. The problem is the mathematics that we're using, the conventional mathematics, is Newton Leibniz calculus, the infinitesimal calculus. That is inappropriate for use at the quantum level because it's based on the continuity of dimensional measurements, like the dimensions of extent, and the function. If functions and dimensions are not continuous, if they are quantized, which they are in the 3S1T, then that mathematical system doesn't work. So what I did, and this I did in 1989, I first published it, is what I call the calculus of dimensional distinctions. And it links consciousness to physics because it's through distinction, drawing distinctions constantly, that you create your own timeline in the 3S1T or extended dimensions. Anyway, I'll stop there because I've written a lot of this in several different books. The Academy for the Advancement of Post-Materialist Science, which was started by Dr. Gary Schwartz, and there were 12, 13 of us that began this. We published a book called Is Consciousness Primary? And if so, is it fundamental or primary to reality? And so I'd recommend that book. If you look for AAPS Global, which is Academy for Advancement of Post-Materialist Sciences, you'll find the book, and there's a chapter by me in there and by the other 12 members of the founding members of the organization. But that's a new mathematics, and that's a little beyond the scope of what we want to talk about. So I'll stop talking about that and let you go on. And when you want me to, then I'll shift gears and talk about my experience in the pyramid. It's not everybody's into abstract mathematill models.
No, but thank you for explaining it, because it's fascinating, and I learned a lot from that just now. I have to something I'm going to stew on too. Go ahead, Lori. You had something you've been trying to say.
Yes, I did want to let everybody know that when I ran this video through the software, I tried to speed up and slow down, and I could not get it to do anything. It stayed consistently like that. So I think that's very important for you folks to understand. We tried to debunk that, and I could not debunk that.
The other thing that Lori did is she tried to see, she has a way to look at sound frequency waves on the bar. So she was doing the analysis, and even though the video was in slow motion, it never once showed a drop.
Correct.
And it should have shown a drop, and then you should have seen this, or whatever frequency it was at. It should have been pulsating. It was the same as if Khadija was in regular motion.
It would not change. It would not change.
So then so you know it wasn't spliced, because a splice would have shown that. In other words, if I had a stopped regular and then started slow motion and then stopped it again, it would have shown that break. It's a continuous feed, and the frequency waves aren't changing enough to show that there was a sudden drop. Yeah. So it's a really bizarre phenomenon. I get the part in multiple timelines. Go ahead, dimensions. Go ahead, Trina. Sorry.
It seems to me like exactly what the doctor's speaking of. It's a dimensional shifting that we're witnessing and hearing audibly, that's profound when you think about it.
And I have a question about it. Here's my question.
That frequency is somehow weaving the two dimensions together in one time space.
There are 3 pyramids.
That's what we thought.
There are 3 pyramids. I'm sorry, Trina, there's a lag, and so I'm not trying to talk over you. What's happening is I'm missing the lag. There are 3 pyramids. You can video and take photos in 2 of them. This is my understanding now, because I've watched about 6 videos now from 6 different YouTubers, all saying the same thing. The only one that they're not allowed without special permission is to film video of any kind in the Great Pyramid. Why? And you just saw what happened to Khadija when she tried it.
Yeah, I know because when I went in there, I was told that if you're ever caught inside the Great Pyramid with any kind of electronic device, that you're banned forever. I don't know how they would ensure that, but when I went in there, they made me take like my camera, my cell phone, and I left it with the taxi driver. So but when I came out, I was covered in sweat, just like Khadija was in that video, because people underestimate it, but climbing for like, I don't know, what is it, like 100 meters up 45 degrees into the Grand Gallery and then some, I mean, that takes a lot out of you. And then going down is even worse, actually.
There are okay. So my first thought, one of my thoughts was, they're trying to protect their antiquity. They want to do postcards. They want people to pay the 200 pounds or whatever, Egyptian pounds or whatever it is, to get in there to see the pyramids. So they don't want you to videotape it, because then we could see it on video and take virtual tours and never have to pay. That might be one reason.
That's false. No.
Okay. Now the second is there's jamming devices that they're using to jam your signals so that you can't take the video. I thought about that. Did the research on that, and it turns out what you can do, the only thing that you can do is block the signal, but not the sound. You can block it and shut it off so that there's nothing. Or you can block video but not sound.
No, it's not that. They don't have this kind of stuff in Egypt.
Don't. They don't have it.
And also,
why are they doing this?
What I want to tell you, whoever they are, when I was in there and I did the chanting, before I did the chanting, it was pitch black. When I did the chanting, you could really see it. There was some kind of dark energy in there. I don't know how to explain it. It felt like a dark cloud in there. I don't know who was in there before, but it cleared it out. And everything lightened up, and I thought, that's interesting. And another thing, do you hear me say, Mamnua, Haram, what are you doing?
Yes.
These two guys came in. They were both inspectors from the Department of Iniquities. That's what I call it. Department of Iniquities, not antiquities. But anyway, they had a knife. They had a knife, like a regular dinner knife, and they were going around putting the knife in between the stones and putting it up and down. And I said, what are you doing? I am really a bitch, when it comes to these monuments. I didn't know they were inspectors. I thought they were tourists. And I said, what are you doing? That's forbidden. You're not supposed to even touch the monuments. And they were in there with this knife, like they were trying to see if there was any way that the stones were loose or whatever. And I said, stop that. And I got really upset with them because they wouldn't stop it. And he went over to the sarcophagus with the knife and ran it up and down. And I went, Haram, but you didn't hear the rest of my conversation with them. So later they said to me, as I was coming out, they said, oh, we're inspectors. And I said, well, I know some inspectors that are going to prison because they were there with those German people that went up there and were messing around without an inspector. And I said, so you're not supposed to touch this monument. Don't tell me you are. Well, we people put paper in between, he said, and we have to take it out. And I thought, what a crock of scheisse. I said, because number one, I said, you can't even hardly get the knife in there to start with. I mean, so there's no room. So what are they doing? They were messing about.
Yeah.
And I decided I was going to ask. I was going to ask Antiquities Department about it. And I'm waiting to see Dr. Waziri. And I'm going to say, what are they doing with that knife in there? Are they really doing something? So I was mad because I thought they were going to damage the pyramid with that stupid knife. And what were they doing? And they said, we're inspectors. And that's when I said, I know 3 that are going to prison,
Well, I heard them ask you if you were videoing, and you're like, no, I'm not videoing.
Yeah, right.
No.
I was trying to get their face. I wanted to video their face so I could show it to the Department of Iniquities.
Oh, you're a brave woman. All right, before we get to Dr. Close's story, can you bring up the slide, Lori, of the still shot of that spirit that was floating in the hallway? Yes. We could show folks what that looked like. Now, there's 4 different sizes, so I blew it up to a larger size. There we go.
Meow, meow, meow. Right there, I see the eye.
Okay, now what's interesting about this is that I didn't change the light spectrum. All I did was blow it up. And when I blew it up, I got reds, greens, and blues.
I see some purple too.
But you can see the, and so I blew it up even further to see the features. I didn't change the light frequency because I didn't want to.
You know what I see? Okay, what do y'all see? I'm not going to tell you what I see. I just want to see what you see. Oh, right now? My goodness.
I see a face right in the middle.
Yeah, it does look like a face, but
looks like a
face of what? Yeah.
In the middle.
Looks like a cat.
Yeah, it is. Bastet and Sekhmet. And
It's
in the
Sekhmet.
middle,
It's Sekhmet in the middle.
Sekhmet's coming out. Sekhmet's coming out from behind Bastet.
Okay,
The
do you
two,
remember that
and they're
story?
together. They're one energy because Sekhmet and Bastet are one energy. According to the Egyptians, the great goddess herself is a lioness. And she is the goddess of war, pestilence, disease, and but also of healing. And Bastet is joy and the home and also gentleness. So it's her other side. It's her sweet side. And the lioness is her dangerous side. So she wanted me to see that after all, she is one being. But it's like she's coming out. The two of them are like half is Bastet and half is Sekhmet.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
The double face. Now, Lori, take that away for a second. Do you remember when I said, "Here it comes"? Listen to the second voice. There was your voice, and then there was almost a screeching-like voice. It wasn't the growl. It wasn't the low growl that we got in the gardens when you did that segment the previous week. This was more of a banshee-type scream. Did you hear that? Yes. So it was like So I just thought that was interesting. And there was a third sound, but I couldn't make it out. I didn't know if it was one of the men that was following you, or that I could hear your voice, and then I heard that banshee-type scream, and then I saw that spirit. So
that was
it's
me
like
killing that bastard that was putting the knife in the. No, I'm kidding.
I think it's no. I'm rubbing my head because I was power washing today, and I bonked myself with the power washer. So what I'm thinking is the multi dimensions. They're coming through the dimension. For some reason, they were trying to interact with you, but the end result was interfering with your video. But you have a theory that it was on purpose. Why do you think that she would do that on purpose?
She wants me to first of all, remember I gave you a slide of her appearing in the temple of Seti at Abydos, coming in as okay, you can clearly see that she's appearing, and she keeps trying to follow me around and growling at me, trying to make me realize that after all, these are real beings, and they were loved and worshipped for 3,000 years, and everybody tries to pretend they don't exist, and everybody tries to pretend that the Egyptians were a bunch of children, but that's not true. That is an energy form. That is the cat is a real being, and so is a lion. I mean, when they were showing those energies in ancient Egypt, they were trying to say the netter, which is a flag. It looks like a flag, and the lute, the beautiful energy of such and such. They knew that about energy. They knew all about it. But she was in her lion form. They say people are even afraid to go in there to be near her because you don't mess around with her. She don't mess around with people. She's a goddess of revenge. If you got a problem with somebody and they're evil, you go and you talk to her because she loves it. She loves, it's like a cat playing with a rat. She loves to play around before she kills them. That's how she is.
I heard also that she was also called in for one of the great destructions because the giants and the hybrids were so out of control that they literally summoned Sekhmet. And
that's a story I love. That's my favorite
story.
This
realm. Yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting that in some of the depictions that Sekhmet and Hathor look exactly alike, and they're also both wearing red dresses.
Interesting,
and I saw
Suzanne. Thank you.
Some elements of red in that image. You know,
that is her color is red. They'll show her wearing a red garment, but I tell you, I have seen her in action, and the story of her is interesting. They say she's the right eye of God, that she sprung out from Ra, because Ra, God, or whatever you want to call it, all-encompassing consciousness, love. It's all love. It can't know revenge. So she sprung out of his eye, and she said, let me go down. I'll take care of the problem. And she did, to the point where they couldn't get her to stop. She was enjoying herself so much, killing evil. See, she didn't kill people who were good. She enjoyed killing evil. And so they couldn't get her to stop, and they were afraid she was going to kill everybody. And they sent down Thoth, who is the Thoth head, you call him Thoth, Thoth, or Jehuti in ancient Egyptian. The ibis-headed god of wisdom. And he told him, stomp on some grapes and make some red wine. So they poured it out in the temple, and she thought it was red wine. And she goes, "Oh, that looks good. That's blood." And she starts drinking it and started laughing, fell on her back, her little feet up in the air, her big feet, and turned into the domestic cat. So every year they had the Bastet. Every year they had Bastet Festival where everybody got drunk as a skunk and partied all night to celebrate Bastet's loving, sweet energy and the fact that that's what saved the planet. So she's as loved but they talk about Bastet being raging, but that's really Sekhmet. It's not Bastet. Bastet is love. She showed us that. She showed us that. That's why she showed two faces very clearly. Bastet was the most strong, it looked like, and then Sekhmet kind of came out to the side and said, "But don't F with me."
Yeah.
She said, "I will kill you." That's what I joke around with people, and they look at me, and I said, "Don't let me call in Sekhmet." I've seen her in action. I have seen her. I'm not going to tell you what she does to men that don't behave. She does naughty things to men. They can't work it. It doesn't work anymore. Okay, that's what she punishes men. Yeah, she'll punish that. She enjoys that. She says, "All right, no man, you're not a man anymore." But she's real, and people are afraid of her. Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just have to take a look. It's 10:18, and Dr. Close still has his story. And at Dalibor, did you have anything you needed to add, or?
Not at the present, no. But yeah, I'll interject this as appropriate.
So yes, please, Dr. Close, share your story with us. I find it fascinating that I'm glad you're still alive. Okay, Khadija.
Well, there's so much, I hardly know where to start. I'll tell the story, and then I have some comments about what you've just been discussing too, but I'll try to work that out.
Well, whatever you want to do. If you want to comment, do that first. Whatever you want to do.
Okay. Well, Trina made a comment about the different dimensions or dimensional domains, and I just wanted to say that in the whole picture of the 9 finite dimensionals and the transfinite, they're nested. So they're always there. It's just your consciousness changes that you see them. Anyway, then the other thing I wanted to mention, which is kind of a meta thing with regard to this, is that there's a really good book. It was written in 1894 by an Indian saint, Swami Sri Yukteswar, called The Holy Science. It's a little book. It's not much. It's about the same size as my book here. But he goes back into the Vedic, 5, 6, 7, 8,000 years ago, and talks about the cycles of the mental virtue or spiritual virtue, and how it changes as we move through the time cycles. And the picture that I get is sort of like a spiral because we are progressing. But he shows the different yugas, the time frames. And actually, at the time when the Great Pyramid was built and used, and I quite agree, it was not built as a tomb. It may, if it was ever used as a tomb, that was only a very small part of what it was there for. And I saw some of that during and after my experience. But the time cycles, actually, we think we're the most advanced. We're still very low. We're in what's called a Dwapara Yuga, and we're advancing. But if you look at the whole cycle, the time when the pyramids were built was a higher level of mental virtue and spiritual virtue than we have now. Most people say, well, how can that be? You don't see any machines, and well, you don't. At the higher levels, at the Sat Yuga, you don't have any machines. Everything has gone back to natural conditions. So there are anomalies that have been found, and some of the stone structures are that way, that don't fit into the linear time scale that anthropologists use. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that because at that time, when that pyramid was built, they were at a higher level of consciousness in general than we are right now. Now, consciousness, like I said before, the concept of intervention is different for each individual because of where you happen to be on your spiritual path. But it's like a bell curve. The bell curve of human consciousness is moving slowly over thousands of years. But individuals may move up on the bell curve toward the upper end by spiritual practices and things like that. But this time frame, the Vedic time frame, shows that while it was a descending age, the mental virtue was disappearing. That's why you'll find references back 4,000 years ago to the dying embers of civilization. Because it was the down, they were in the downturn side, we're in the upturn side. So that makes things very different. But they were more advanced in consciousness than we are now. So with that, the experience, which happened February 27th in the afternoon, I think it was a Saturday, when we went into the pyramid, in 2010, we split up and into 4 groups. Khadija, I don't know if you were in one of those 4 groups or not. You weren't in the one that I was in, but the idea was, so we were in smaller groups of about 25, so there were about 100 of us, and the first 2 groups were, the first one went up the Grand Gallery to the King's Chamber. The second one, which I just happened to be in, went in through the robbers' entrance and then to the right and down to the Queen's Chamber. And then we were supposed to reverse that. And then the other 2 groups were going to do the same. So everybody, what?
I was in the King's Chamber.
Yeah.
You were in the Queen's Chamber.
You were in the King's Chamber. Yes. Yeah, I think probably I might not have survived it at all if I had gone to the King's Chamber based on what I saw, what came after. But here's the experience. We went in to the Queen's Chamber, and it's a small corridor. If you've been there, you know it's you have to get kind of down on all fours. And when you get right to the chamber, there's a drop down, and then there's an alcove, which would be to your left as you come in. I went across the room and stood pretty much catty-cornered across from where the entrance comes in. And the 20 or 25 of us got in there. And they told us beforehand that they're going to turn the lights out, after everybody was in there for a few minutes so everybody could experience how dark it is. Well, of course, being a spelunker, exploring many caves, I'd seen absolute darkness, so I knew what it was going to be like. Anyway, when we all got in there, somebody, and I don't know who it was in the group, started chanting Om. And so everybody joined in, including me. Mm-hmm. And we were chanting Om, and it was very peaceful and very, very nice. But then just a few, I don't know, not a minute, a few seconds, I think, before they turned the lights back on, I saw this light. And the best way I can describe it is if you know what St. Elmo's fire is, it's static electricity. Mm-hmm. I've seen that in nature a couple of times near a tornado when I was about 13 or 14 years old. A tornado went through the valley where I lived. And these balls of static electricity float around. Well, that's what that was like, but it came from the opposite corner and it struck me right here. I actually still have a scar. And immediately I lost all sense. It didn't feel like an impact. It wasn't like somebody hit me with something at all. It was just this light ball came and it was spinning. And, but the minute that it hit me, I suddenly could feel all of the motions. I could feel the rotation of the earth. I could feel its movement around the sun. I could feel the solar systems moving in the galaxy. All of these, and they're very fast. If you can look this up, you can calculate the speed. Where I am right here on the planet, I'm moving at about 700 miles per hour to the east. The Earth is always turning to the east, and depending on how close you are to the equator, it's about 1,000 miles per hour, and that's moving. Then the Earth is moving in its orbit around the sun at about 65 or 66,000 miles per hour, and then it's even a higher speed when you get the velocity of the movement within the spiral galaxy. So I could feel all of these, and so I had no sense of up or down at all. And the two guys on either side of me grabbed my arms, or I probably would have been injured. I would probably taken a header on the stone floor. And when they grabbed me, I was still spinning, and spinning got so intense that I was just violently ill. I actually threw up. And when I did, I went out of the body. Now, I knew what was happening because I'd had this experience, as I said before, even as a child. My first time was when I was in, I think, 6th or 7th grade. And so I'd had two or three experiences in my life of seeing everything from outside my body. So I kind of knew what was happening, but it was not a pleasant situation. And I call this a near-death experience because I make the difference between OBEs, out-of-body experience, and NDEs. They're both OBEs, but the NDE is traumatic. It's in a situation where you may not even come back or be able to. And so that was the frightening part of it. Was I felt I'm gone, I just died. I just left my body. So the natural instinct is to try to get back in the body. And when I did, as soon as I would get almost back into my physical consciousness, I would become violently ill again and go out again. So this happened about 5 times. I had to be carried out the pyramid. Fergani Al-Khamadi, I think, was our guide, and he and one of his men carried me out of the pyramid, out to the robbers, the entrance, and the next thing I was on the. Anyway, so during the times when I was going out of the body, I started seeing just a stream of faces and sounds. I could hear, I know a little bit of Arabic. I could hear what sounded like Arabic. I could hear what sounded a little bit like not Hebrew, but the what's the other word?
Aramaic.
You probably Aramaic. Thank you. I could hear some Aramaic and some other language. Anyway,
Aramaic.
All of this was streaming. Every time I would go out, there was this stream. So to make this long story a little shorter, this went on for more than 24 hours. It went on. They took me back to the hotel so that I wouldn't be spirited away to to the hospital in Cairo, which I didn't want to be. And besides, I had a doctor and a nurse with me. Tom Reed is an MD, and Brenda Charbonneau was there, and she's a nurse. Actually happened to be a hospice nurse, which is kind of appropriate. But anyway, they got me back to the hotel. I still couldn't stand up. And they had to get a golf cart to take me to their room in the Cascade Hotel. And this went on all night. And the next day we had a bus ride we flew from Egypt to Amman, Jordan, got on a bus in Amman and drove to Petra. We stopped, Khadija will probably remember, at a restaurant stop about, I don't know, 2/3 of the way to Petra for people to eat. I could not eat a bite, so I just kind of wandered around. But the whole time on the bus, until we got to Petra, I had to sort of almost prop my eyes open, because anytime I closed my eyes, I would see the stream again of faces and sounds. I would feel vertigo, extreme vertigo, and I knew that, I didn't want to throw up on the bus or whatever. So I was just struggling to keep my eyes open for all of that time. And when I got to Petra, I actually had another out-of-body experience while it was getting dark, and had to do, and this I think is interesting, had to do with a piece of alabaster that I found out at the edge of where the hotel is in modern Petra. I went out just for a walk by myself to try to, gather my wits. And I picked up this alabaster, and I immediately was out of the body again. Now, both of these, I realized not only was I traveled out of the body in space, I was out of the time frame also. When in the pyramid, one of the times, I was above the pyramid. I was looking down, and I could see where the buses where I thought I expect the buses to be, and there were no buses there. And everything was green. There were lots of trees and grass and everything. And the pyramid was covered with white stone and a gold cap at the top. Another interesting thing is that before we went in, I saw three large black birds circling the apex of the Great Pyramid just before we went in. I thought, that's odd. I've never seen, they were like ravens, like the European ravens, which are quite large, and three of them, and they were circling. And I was told later that there was a significance to that. Okay.
There is a significance, because a raven is also called a crow, and Crowley.
Yes. Yeah.
But they also are the most intelligent birds. The most intelligent. Amazingly intelligent.
Oh, yes. Quite.
They can speak just like parrots.
They can learn to speak. Yes.
They're highly sacred,
anyway, that was
totem, too, for
kind
American
of an odd
Indian.
thing.
Wow.
No.
But you know what I was thinking about your out of bodies? I'm sorry. You were talking
No,
about
I was
the
just going to
stream.
say.
That seems to me to be, because I've had that experience of watching that too. But for me, it was each one was encapsulated almost like in the DNA, like a life, and it stretched on forever. So I could see each one connected, whereas you were living each one really fast. The Sufi do that. They do those kind of spins. They do this kind of thing in Egypt when they do the spins. They try to get into that state. They try to throw they spin, and they try to get themselves into that state.
They do that.
The whirling dervishes. Yes, the Sufis. Yes,
a lot of those symptoms. A lot of that sounds like what I experienced when I experienced the stroke 10 years ago. Except that I didn't get I didn't have that kind of imagery, but I had a lot of the same symptoms as you described. as well as that was also the only time in my life that I heard a disembodied voice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, what did it say?
Yeah.
It said,
Yeah.
"Take aspirin now," and I did.
Wow.
And that's probably
Perfect.
what saved my life.
Somebody,
Uh-huh.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm, as you know, trained as a mathematician and a physicist. I'm a skeptic. That's part of the training as a
I
scientist.
love it. I
So
love it.
I thought all of this is possibly just a hallucination or um, totally subjective. But when I got to the next day in Petra, both of the guys who grabbed me in the chamber and kept me from falling separately, because they weren't rooming together or anything. They came to me separately at a different time, and each one of them said, "Did you see that light, that ball of light that came out of the corner and hit you on the head?" So I knew it wasn't subjective because, and I found out later that several of the people who were in the group saw it. But they both came and, independently. I hadn't told anybody about what the experience was. Some people asked me, well, you probably got sick because it's, claustrophobic. And no, I'm a spelunker. I don't get claustrophobic. I've crawled in miles underground in caves. And some people say, well, maybe you just ate something bad. We had eaten at a restaurant in Giza just before we went in. No, I wasn't upset when I was fine spirits and everything when we ended. But now what happened later is that this all, Khadija, you know Mary Hart, I think, don't you?
I think so.
Mary Hart is, yeah, she's actually written some books about pyramid power back when, everybody was building pyramids to sharpen razor blades and whatever. She told me that this was part of a shift and in global consciousness, and I just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time or whatever. But also that
I don't
was a
agree with that. I
download
think
of information.
they used a
Information
sledgehammer
into
on you, Dr. Close. They used the sledgehammer
Well-
on you. They wanted you to see
Yeah,
what you finally were
Well-
talking about, Gimel and consciousness. Yeah, you got to see
Yeah.
a real good,
Mhm.
fast
The
forward on
thing
all your
is that
lives and all
after-
that.
Sounds like a download.
afterwards, yes, a download, exactly. It's what it was. And all of this is stored, and this all makes sense to me because besides studying physics and mathematics, actually I did some work in geophysics. While I was in university, at one time I had thought, well, I'll get a PhD in geophysics. And I did research and I did all the basic geology courses and everything. And I found out that, this is common knowledge, that stone, especially all stone is crystalline, either large or small. And stone like the granitic stones, the pink granites and so forth that are in the interior of the pyramid, these all store energy and consciousness and information of what happened there. So much later, and that's same when I picked up the alabaster in Petra, same thing. I was picking up a stone. And of course, the whole Petra thing is nothing but carved in stone. And so all of the past is recorded. Geologists will tell you it's recorded in the layers of the sedimentary, metamorphic, and granitic volcanic stone. but there's more than that. The consciousness is stored there too. So under certain circumstances, you either tap into that, or that can come into your consciousness. So while I had, at that time, Dr. Neppy and I had been working on our TDVP theory for 3 years, I guess. I think we started in 2008. And so I developed a lot of the math already. Some of the math I developed back in the 80s even. And but after that, I started putting things together, and at one point I started seeing more of what happened while I was out of the body. And I'll tell you this a little bit, and then I'll stop because I know we have a time limit. But when it started coming out, not only did it tell me more about the model I was working on and help me to understand how everything is a model and how our own consciousness models reality, and that's what we deal with, not the reality itself. And until your consciousness has expanded to the point where you're one with the cosmos, then your consciousness is a little different than the consciousness of the entire cosmos. And that's what makes us all different, and what makes us make mistakes and do things that we later see, oh, we shouldn't have done that. Anyway, when this started to come out, I started asking, well, what was going on in the pyramid back then, since I had time traveled. And what the answer that I got was that.
Oh, we lost him.
Oh, wow.
Oh no! The answer was bang.
The answer
The
was-
answer is.
What was
Oh,
going on
that's
there?
Close.
Yeah.
Oh damn! Excuse
So
me.
close.
He'll make it
He'll
back
pop
in.
back up. Yeah.
No, he's having a
Crap.
series of electrical storms where he is.
Right.
Thunderstorms, and it's been affecting his telecommunications, so
Mhm.
he might not
I
make
thought I
it
saw
back in.
a little Egyptian bastard. Beautiful,
Oh,
Hey,
beautiful.
darling. Oh, look
Oh,
at
no
that.
way, you
You
got
have
one
one
Thank
too?
too,
you.
Lori.
I
love
have
it.
so much of this stuff in my
Well,
house.
that
And
is-
Khadija, I noticed you have the, is it the Eye of Ra on
what
your
have you
hand?
got there, Dalibor?
That's,
You know what happened?
Radagast. That's a
I
Slavic
have that
deity.
tattoo on my ankle. I have that tattoo
What
on
is
my
on?
ankle. Same exact.
You know what we did? We had all these tattoos.
Wow.
We had all these. I bought these actually. You can get them online, and they're all these different ones. I got to show you the one on my back. I don't know if I can show it to you or not. Let's see. Don't look at my back. I'm gonna.
I can't believe that you and Lori had the same cat. That's just
Yeah.
pull those up again.
Can you see it?
Look at that.
What a coincidence. No
What a
way. That's the same
coincidence.
cat.
No coincidence.
You all
is
didn't
it,
talk to
Trina?
each other about this?
Uh-uh.
No.
She went and got hers, and then I saw it. And that's why I went and got this
I
one.
was wondering why you disappeared. Okay,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
You're almost identical.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing, yeah.
It is. This is green. It's just my green screen. It's exactly like hers.
They're
And
That's
they're
identical.
both wearing an
amazing.
scarab. They both have the Egyptian scarab.
Mhm.
Interesting that she showed up in the pyramid, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in more than one place.
She really, all these discoveries they're making in Egypt, they made the biggest discovery since Tutankhamun. All of that has taken place in an area called the Bubastrion in Saqqara, which is where her temple is. One of her temples was there. And the first thing they found was a complete unrifled tomb of a priest of Bastet and his family. And I said, oh, that's interesting. Since we started restoring her temple, she's blessed us, And they found another tomb that's got like 300 mummies in it. It's unbelievable. But I tell them, how about let's quit digging up people and let's start restoring the temples, because it's enough already. And I didn't like the fact that, they were messing around with the priests anyway. I think they should have left them, but I don't know. I feel like they need to concentrate on restoration now because a lot of the
Dalibor,
temples are in bad need of it.
Ouch. Sorry. Dalibor, what were you holding up?
But that's a statue of Radagast. That's a Slavic deity. It was one of the three main deities that was worshipped by the ancient Slavic people, specifically where I'm from. And he was the god of the harvest, of plenty, of lightning and thunder, as well as everything that was above the earth, namely the
What's that on
sky,
top
the
of it?
sun,
Is that a
on
cat?
top of the earth. No, that's actually a bull.
Oh,
So
okay. It
he's-
looks like a lion.
Yeah, but he does have aspects of Sekhmet because he's supposed to be terrifying.
Okay, now
Yeah.
it's a better view.
He's supposed to be terrifying,
He
but
is
at the same
spooky.
time, in one hand he holds an axe, and in the other hand he holds an animal horn filled with wine. And the name itself, Radagast or Radhost, different mutations of it, means glad to be a host or glad to host you. So he was also regarded as the equivalent of Svarog, which was the Indo-European deity that would be kind of the equivalent of this.
Wow.
So
I just
It's
got
the
a note from
energy.
Dr. Close. He said, I
Uh-huh.
just got kicked out. He said he was kicked out of the meeting. How was he kicked out?
I
Why?
have no
Wasn't
idea.
me.
I felt that
Tell him-
energy.
tell him-
though. It
tell
was
him-
powerful.
Tell him to come back in.
Tell him to come back.
Tell him to relink.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get him on my cell
Guys,
phone.
I have got to go, but this was
Yes.
so wonderful.
Yeah. I'm glad you could stop in. I wanted you to
Yeah.
meet
Thanks,
him.
Trina.
Wanted you to see who he was. I wanted you to hear his story and meet him.
It's
And
amazing.
you never
It's
know.
that's,
If you
that's
ever want to.
an incredible experience, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
He just synced what stuff he was talking about. Sounded like what you were talking about with Wayne, and I just made a sync there.
Mhm.
It's powerful, his awareness of how consciousness works and how it's connecting through timelines, dimensions, and realities.
I think
And
we're
it's
approaching
profound.
Yeah.
we're approaching some
We
kind of a
felt
shift
the energy.
because like the individual like storybook realities, as I call them, are
Just
starting
got
to
doggone.
intersect with like the main reality because so more and more coincidences happening, more and more numerical coincidences, symbolic coincidences, weird weather events,
Yeah.
things that have never happened before. So I think there's going to be some kind of a radical shift in our understanding of what consciousness is and how it relates to this particular timeline.
Mhm.
You know, that the major
Well,
change in
Am I
consciousness
doing
that we're
that?
expecting
What the fuck?
for
Okay. Well,
December
let's take a time
21st.
out for a second so Trina can sign off because she has to run now. And we thank you very much for being with us, Trina. We love
I love
you.
you guys. I
Trina.
wouldn't
Love
leave,
you.
but I
Thanks for
love you
jumping in.
too.
Thanks for
Bye.
jumping in tonight.
Go have dinner.
Bye.
Bye. Love
Later.
Bye, honey.
you. There we go. Okay, I'm sorry,
Dr.
Dalibor.
Close,
I
I told
wanted her
Dr.
to be able to go.
I told
think,
Dr. Close to relog on. I just want y'all to know what. Look at my
Thank you.
screen. It keeps going light, dark, light, dark. What the hell?
Yeah.
Quit
Yeah.
that. Quit
I'm
that.
sorry, Dalibor. What were you saying?
I think that the major shift in consciousness that everybody was expecting for December 21st, 2012, that didn't happen really. I think that that's about to happen. That maybe it was shifted by 10 years. Maybe we're looking at December 21st, 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything seems to be accelerating towards that point. Because at least in my
Keep
personal
trying,
life,
we're
we're
still
seeing
on.
more weird, like numerical coincidences that shouldn't be there.
Lori.
Yeah.
Ah. You're gonna make it hard on me, aren't you?
Is this going to be part of the Andromeda 7 bloopers?
Oh, yeah, possibly.
Oh, we get him. We get him. We get the drama. So.
What happened?
Oh, Teresa's losing it.
It says the host has to add me back in.
You're in.
The host has to add me back in.
Oh, that's what it says on his?
Yeah,
what it says.
this is really bizarre because I'm not seeing him on my display at the bottom.
Now, you remember when I tried to get in 6 or 7 times
Yes.
last week?
Yes.
And I was saying the same thing. It was saying I was
Yeah,
Only you
it's-
could see me.
I don't see anything.
Okay, we're working on it.
That's.
Uh,
I had to reboot my computer actually, then get into my browser, and then type it all in again in order to get in.
yeah, I do not see him on my screen whatsoever.
When all else fails,
Reboot your computer
when all-
and start again.
when all else
Sorry,
fails,
that's what the only thing that worked last time.
you do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around.
Right.
That's it.
Well, anyway, we might have to. It's already 10:52. We've been going
Yeah.
almost 2 hours, so we might
Yeah.
have to cut this without him. Darn it, because he
That-
was just getting ready to tell us.
man.
And
Yeah.
this is what keeps happening to her. Just as she's getting ready to reveal something, something crazy happens.
Every
That's one of
single
those
time.
weird. That's one of those weird coincidences. I mean, that should not have happened because it was all going perfectly well
Yeah.
until he says, "Oh, and the great secret of the Great Pyramid is boom."
All right, but this
You
brings
know?
me back
Give
to
him
my.
a second.
This
Give him a
brings me-
second.
Okay. This
Sorry.
brings me back to my
It's okay.
paranoia, I guess, if that's what it is.
To your what?
I'm not trying to be paranoid, but I can't help it. Why won't they allow one to video anything inside the Great Pyramid?
Yeah, that's
They
weird.
meaning whom?
The Egyptian
Ministry
Antiquities. of Antiquities, you know this. They told you don't video. You live there, and they told you no videoing.
Oh, they don't know who I am. They don't know me. And you
It
know,
Why
doesn't
did they
matter.
tell people
But they
that?
told Dalibor no video.
Yep.
Mhm.
yeah,
Why
they
did
told
tell
everybody
people
that, but everybody does it.
But
They
do
go,
you know
"Okay,"
why
and
they
everybody
tell them
goes,
Do
that?
you know why they're asking you to not video?
I'll find out. I'm going to see Dr. Waziri before too long. I'll just ask him, why is it you can't take videos inside?
Yeah,
Why?
because when I was there, I wasn't allowed to take any electronic device. But there was like a group of Danish high school kids,
Yeah.
and one of them had a cell phone, and he asked me to take a picture of him on top of the Grand Gallery, which I did. Which means that he obviously disregarded that order.
Why did the
Everybody does.
Antiquities?
And I know I didn't. I
I know
was
what you're saying,
obedient.
Teresa. I'll find out for you. I'll
Why
find
did
out.
the Antiquity authorities tell people they couldn't explore underneath?
And why is my thing
pyramid?
doing this? Is that my camera?
They told
Probably.
people they couldn't explore
Look at
under the
this.
Sphinx. They couldn't
see
explore
that.
under the pyramid.
And why is the Queen's Chamber closed still?
Right. And why is it
What's
that
up with
other
that?
passageway behind the Queen? There's a lot of things that are not being disclosed.
Do you see this?
And we're finding video. Yeah, we're finding videos messed with.
Mhm.
There's
You
no
have a bad
flickering
light bulb?
lights here.
Do you have
No,
a bad light
there's
bulb?
no flickering lights here at all.
Maybe it's your camera on your cell phone.
Maybe
Are
it's
you-
about to croak. No,
Yeah.
I'm on my laptop, and it's a new. It's it's not. It shouldn't.
Huh.
It's never done this before. But I'm on the West Bank, and a lot of weird shit goes on over here. I have to tell you.
I've
I've
seen
seen
something
things.
similar to that before with a psychic who does mediumship, and she has a window behind her, and every time she pulls the energy in, it fluctuates, just like I'm
That's-
seeing here.
It's the window behind
That's
her. It's-
really bizarre.
If you shift the other way so that the light is on you instead of the light being on the camera, you won't get
Mhm.
that effect.
Look at
I
that.
haven't moved. I haven't
Mm-mm.
moved.
She's not moving.
Yeah.
Hmm.
If
That's
you're
odd.
if you're trying to get our attention, do it again. If you're somebody in here and you want your a spirit or whatever, do it again. Let us see it.
hmm Interesting. Interesting. Huh. Well, they follow
It's a
you
thing.
around. You've been attracting them.
Well, I know I've got Sekhmet and Bastet with me. I know that because I hear him growling. I mean, she's been with me since she told me about the COVID. She warned me there was a big, very bad. She was bringing a very bad plague, and that's why I wonder if this is an act. Okay, yes,
There it
that's
goes
true,
again.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, it's
Oh,
true.
boy.
It's true. You brought that, didn't you, Mother? Because we're just not taking care of the earth, and we're not taking care of the animal kingdom and all this evil that's been going on. She just doesn't. Yes, Mother. She doesn't want us to. She wants us to know that she brought this. She's furious. She's still angry, and I'm trying to calm her down. you know, because of the how I just feel sorry for people. Hey, where'd you go,
Okay,
Teresa?
I don't know. This is so bizarre.
What happened?
What the heck? Okay, so we just lost Teresa. We have no idea why.
We
She had a
lost Dr.
funny look on her
Close.
face.
It's almost like Agatha Christie's, and then there were none.
So, so
Now, see when
unbelievable.
see that
See?
now that's weird.
That is weird.
Well, like I said, that could be caused by the light light coming from behind you. If you switched,
like them. Oh,
if you
I know.
sat in a different place where the light would be not going directly into the camera, you'd have like a more stable light source, and the camera wouldn't be trying to adjust its aperture.
I will. I'm going to move and see
Yeah,
what
just to
what
see
does
what
it.
happens.
Oh,
Yeah, that should be
Wow.
better.
Yes,
I'm trying to move, and I've got all these cables to step
Yeah.
over. Hang on.
be careful.
I cut off. I'm not as young as I used to be.
Sun's rising in our corner of the earth.
In your corner. Oh, hey,
Yeah.
my God! It's
Same
already
time
up
zone.
here.
Yeah,
It's already
5
up
a.m.
here.
I've got
Yeah.
people in chat that are saying they're having a problem as well. David Castle says had to reload the page 3 times due to the buffering.
Wow.
Quite amazing, actually. Let's see if you can change.
I changed it.
Yeah,
I'm
acknowledge
sitting
her
down
and
and-
see.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's more stable, because at least the camera's not going to automatically start adjusting its aperture.
There it goes.
There
Ha!
it goes
The,
again. Say
oh, wow.
Is it-
acknowledge her again, just to see if you can prompt her to.
Are you
Pull our
doing that? Are you doing that, or is that being done by just whatever? Just do it again if you're doing it, Mama. I call her Mama, Mother Lioness. Well, anyway, maybe you're right. You're probably right. We always like to attribute things that maybe not the thing. I can't believe the light has come up already. I'm so
Yeah, it's 5
happy.
a.m.
Wow.
Yeah. I hate
All
when
right.
that happens.
Yeah.
Because
Well, we lost the host. We lost our guest, and we are at 2 hours. So we're going to have to say goodbye.
There
Until
it
next
goes again.
time. Yes, there it is. There it is.
Hi, Mother segment. Okay. All right, my darlings. From Egypt, I love all of you, and we will talk in another, 2 weeks?
Yes. Yes.
And what's going to be the next one? Do you know? Is that
I'm
gonna
not sure
be,
what Teresa handles all that. She'll know. She'll let you know.
it might
what
be
that's-
the holy city of Ra, maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
The holy city of
something like
Aten.
that.
Aten, yes. Aten.
Yeah. Yeah. Delabor, I want to thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, pleasure
Khadija,
being here,
Such
yeah.
a pleasure to have you, an honor,
Mhm.
and love you both
The
so
honor
much.
is
Thank
me.
you, everyone that's in chat, and have a pleasant evening. I'm going to rewatch this.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Me
guys.
too. I want to see if it does it again. Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.